Cool. All right, and we are back. Yeah, so that was we just did Casey, and now we're going on to Ida, talking a little bit about Ida or Mrs. Vaughn, but she doesn't actually like to be called Mrs. Vaughn. She prefers Ida. Um,
Because she's very
yeah,
casual and sweet.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. And this would have been in the day quite strange, I think, for an older person to encourage you to call them by their first name.
Mm.
Um, yeah,
Mm.
that's actually something that we kind of have that's come up, I think, quite a bit in research, like that
Yes,
at the
Mrs.
time.
Vaughn.
Yeah, yeah, and so we've
Of
kind
course,
of
Mrs. Vaughn.
yeah, we have for some of the characters gone to that, even though we internally really refer to them a lot as, you know, yeah, Ida or Esther or whoever.
Mm.
Um, yeah. But anyway, yeah, Ida. She is, yeah, she was born in 1899, which makes 78 at the time of the game. Um, and she's kind of, I think we all kind of think of her as a very kind of classic grandmotherly style character.
Yeah.
Yeah, but without really being like a stereotype of that,
Yeah.
but just there are certain elements of her character that, she's very warm, she's caring, she's um yeah,
And she's very
thoughtful.
open to like hearing Casey
Yeah.
being a bit,
She's
she's
definitely
comforting.
inspired by, I think, a lot of the real like women that we know in our lives. So, like on the surface, I think Ida looks a little bit like you could apply a thick paintbrush with a bunch of stereotypes to her, but as you get to know her, she's definitely very tough and
She is.
cheeky and very funny and yeah, has a lot of quips and quirks and
She does. She
Mm.
has
very
her
fierce
moments, and
and feisty. She's quite feisty, Ida, every
Yeah,
now and then.
there's a couple of particular moments that I can think of where somebody kind of gets her goat and she'll let them know.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Um,
even in the demo, if you download and play the demo during LudoNarraCon, there's certainly a few moments. I'm thinking of particular a time when she's talking to Lily at the nurses' station where she stands up for herself a bit, which I
yeah,
always love that moment.
yeah,
Anyway,
that's a
anyway,
nice moment.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I guess like in terms of her kind of on the ship, like when we think about her history, we see her as somebody who has been in the town a long time and has kind of made the transition up to the ship, along with a few of the other patients that were previously in the town, kind of um, the nursing home, older care like area.
mm.
And so she's got some relationships with some people that go back quite a long ways that you'll kind of discover as you play through the game. Um, yeah, whereas some of the other older characters, their story is that they actually came to the town to be on this hospital airship to kind of because they were excited about it or they had a particular connection to it from before. Um,
or it's just also the most modern, you know,
yeah,
modern and best place for them.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and yeah, I guess Ida, yeah, she's very much like uh, somebody that kind of keeps the place together, kind of in terms of the community of the ship. Um,
Yeah, like
She does. That's true. She sort of
she
gets
really does.
everyone
Yeah,
working together.
when
yeah,
you start the game, like the nurse tells you like, oh, I'd maybe go and talk to Ida, and you don't have to, but it's a safe place, and she's always going to be welcoming and accepting and interested in you,
hmm,
which is nice.
yeah,
Mm.
What else can we say about her? She's very dear. She's very dear. That's how I
hmm,
would describe her. I love her very much. I think she's one of the first characters who we were able to flesh out quite fully, because I don't know why. Maybe it was just sort of the excitement of, okay, who are our patients? But I feel like I know Ida most intimately.
She was one of the first characters, like in the original vertical slice that Casey could go to.
And other than visually, like, hasn't changed too much. It's sort of just been more building upon a solid base, whereas a lot of the other characters have created more design problems along the way. Ida's been fairly seamless. She's complex, but we have known her story, so she's a joy.
With some of the other characters, it kind of felt like, there's like a certain depth that is missing here, or we kind of need to figure out, like, it would be good to figure out kind of additional plot threads or storylines or that kind of thing, whereas with Ida, it feels like a lot of that was there from the start. And
I think that's because she gives us a lot as a character as well. She's sort of very forthcoming with her whole personality and story. And anyway, I'll show you some of the Ida art that we have. So we're going to start by looking at her T-pose from 2016.
That's up.
So there she is, little bit sort of compact in her older age.
That's true. She's leant over a little bit, and
she's got a dowager's hump. And they're just straightforward. I wanted to give her a kind of soft and like huggable look. She's a very proud woman. I think she likes to dress nicely and is very clean and put together. One of the things about designing her room is that I can imagine that her house down on the land that she's moved out of would have been so beautiful and decorated with the most beautiful things, little knickknacks and objects d'art that she would have collected, throughout her life. And I know that she's struggled bringing that, as much of that as she wants to or needs to, up onto the ship, which is like a really deco design, and there's been a clash for her there, but she's still very proud of her look, and always has her hair nicely curled and soft and fluffy, and is always wearing her pearls.
I was wondering, Goldie, if this could be a good time to just talk a little bit about the process of creating the characters as well. Like, this one has a little note here that says, "Just where it feels natural to you, Josh." So
so the pipeline for these characters is that I'll do a bunch of sketches and then come up with a more strict T-pose, and then I send that off to our mate Josh Tadangello, who works for a small company called 2 Point, and he and I work together back and forth doing the 3D model. So he builds them in 3D and sends them back, and I'll often tuck in little stitches here and there and say, look, just give me a bit more of a curve there, or can you make that sharper? Just tiny little silhouette shape problems, basically, and with notes. And then it doesn't take long because he's extremely talented, and we work well together. He can read, like, we get each other, and sends them back, and then just go on to the texturing process, I guess. But Josh is responsible for making the 3D models, and our friend Victor Manick adds the rig, and then they go on to be animated by Colonica Quigley.
Wow. It's like everyone has their roles, but it's also just, it feels like a lot of people. Yeah, it
is a lot of people, but we're a good team, I think.
Yeah,
we're a good team,
and everyone
is very good at what they do. So
exactly. Yeah,
it's a pleasure. It's a total pleasure. And there's so many little quirks here and there with these characters, with all of them, that I kind of want to say that the team are really patient with me about, but at the same time the result is always nice. And I think they get that, and are striving for that with me, and together. So it's a team process, but that's part of it there.
And then the next image, we get to see the 3D model. And I remember, so when we were doing voiceover and we had the amazing Anne Charleston come in to do the voice for Ida, we were showing her, and you know, she came in, she was this like much older, you know, I don't know her age, but she's been on Aussie TV for quite a while, and she just looked like a movie star the way that she came in, and her beautiful suit and everything. And not a gamer at all, but we showed her the 3D model, and she said,
the black and white one.
Yeah, the black and white 3D model that's on the image, and she said, "Oh, I look like a fetus."
And at first when I heard this, I was a bit offended, but then I looked at it, and it really kind of does. Eyeless, featureless.
Yeah, like if you don't really have really a concept of like what a 3D model is for a game or whatever, it's like, oh yeah, it does look a bit like, yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like gamers also, like our audience, also does sort of get the process a little bit. You know, they're used to seeing these untextured things, and
or like eyeless.
Yeah,
eyeless Ida.
Exactly. You know, everyone's played some Half-Life mod where the eyes have come out or something, you know. Of course.
Totally. Yeah.
So you can see as well, like I guess you can see on on the right hand side, the furthermost Ida with her hand up that's got the texture on. You can see I've included a lot of the line work there, but Russell's written this beautiful outline shader that, if you see in the demo, that is giving the characters a bit more of the line work on the outside, and also on a little bit of clipping in front. A lot of the line work is in texture as well.
And I guess, you know, it's like the reason why those base textures don't have the eyes and mouth and stuff is so that we can apply them later on and animate them, and so I want
to shout out to the team at Route 59 Games for inspiring a lot of our research into facial tech that we're doing at the moment. As I said in the Casey video, I think we're working on that at the moment, but there was a talk that Route 59 gave, I assume at either Free Play or GCAP. GCAP in the last couple of years about face tech, and it was really eye-opening for us. So shout out to Route 59 working on Necro Barista.
I get it, Goldie. Eye-opening. Yep.
Hey, cool. Good one. So the next image is just showing a little bit of Ida's things, and a lot of this is like quite old concept art. So I was going to have like an old sash window with some, you know, the room layout has changed, but just an idea of like some of that clutter that I mentioned before. And you can see at the bottom as well, there's some family photos to give some weight to her life. Not everything in her room or in any of the characters' rooms, not everything in their rooms is, used in a story in Wayward Strand. Some of it's just there to be beautiful, but all of it is really beautiful, fun to design.
And lends itself to their personalities.
And links into their story and backstory. And
hugely. All of it definitely links into their backstories. So.
And that's kind of one of the things where like often Goldie makes these like incredible little dioramas for the patient rooms, and then we kind of talk about one of those things, and then Goldie's like, oh yeah, that's because this character really loves this. And
surprise.
And I was like, but often it's like, yeah, they do. Now we'll like maybe we'll reference that a little bit in one of the bits of dialogue, or it doesn't need to be referenced. It can just be part of who that character is. And
definitely.
I
think it comes across to the player. So it's just so much fun as a dev as well. But the next thing I'll show you, if you cut to a large image of moi.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I have like the original Ida drawing there on there, and you can see she's changed a lot. Ignore Mabel doesn't exist anymore, but Ida
in the blue top,
you can see the colors like didn't change for her, but the head and the shape certainly did. So that's the first Ida, and I wanted to show you how we did her textures, which was on paper with I think this is watercolor or Copics, either or, and then some like white gel pen to give her that grid pattern. There's a jumper, like I think one of the versions of the jumper that I still have on file, the actual one might be different. And then we have made that, like we were doing all of this cool real world watercolor texture stuff, and it was like, it looked beautiful. The results were great. If you go to the next image, Maize, that shows Casey and Ida sitting together, you can see those pants and jumper are still on the model at the moment. And it looks great. It looks really good. But we have moved on to doing them digitally now, just because it's a lot faster, and we've been able to use some pretty cool tech to get that looking even better, and looking quite hand done, which is nice. So
yeah. But I think
it feels like we definitely had to go through the entire process of having the watercolors actually done and the Copics and stuff to get here.
Yeah. And some of the textures on the ship are still going to be hand drawn, probably just like larger areas of texture, but we will wait and see. So yeah, that's the visual stuff for Ida.
I wanted to play, so this piece of audio is what we hear in the current demo as well, and it's called Cheeky Granny, and and it has, so back when we were first doing the audio systems, there were a lot of layers that would come in and out according to different moods of the character and things like that. So the way that I'm playing it is actually with all of the layers lined up in my DAW, so that they all play at once, because I realised I never actually rendered it out with having them all together.
Right.
Yeah, like it just never actually ended up happening. And now in the game in Wise, it's still all of the tracks playing at once, which is maybe not the most optimized, but there we go. And then, so I'll give it a play now.
Yeah, we'll have a listen.
Yeah, so the main instruments that are really starring there is the piano, just getting that lead, and then we have little like xylophone, which is giving that playfulness, which has a faster melody. But I think the piano is what leads your ear in the most, and it still has the guitar backing. So basically the process for all of the Wayward Strand songs currently is to be guitar first, and the guitar stays in there for quite a while as other layers are added, and it'll probably be at the end if I end up taking the guitar out, or it might stay in, usually doubling something or being rhythm or something. Yeah, so it's just playing an arpeggio in the background, not being doubled by anything.
With how they were split in Wise, that is potentially so that we might be able to kind of like turn off or on particular elements of the track.
Yeah, exactly.
Throughout the story or throughout the game, which I think is still a pretty interesting idea.
Yeah, definitely, you know, and as she feels different things, and as she's in different moods. No, it is a little bit of rustling in the background. Yeah, different elements of the slower or the faster rhythms can come in. Yeah. And also with this model, it means that I can just replace one of the tracks and have it be a slightly different harmony as well, which can give a bit of a different feeling. Yeah, so not only just taking out tracks, but also altering them a bit for that. Yeah.
One of the things that that's kind of happened in the audio process is that you come up with these tracks, and then like I feel like sometimes you come up with them before we tie them to a particular character.
Yes.
Yeah, and like I'm just curious how, because to me this track is like totally 100% Ida, and like especially now, but like do you think
I've just brainwashed you. I've
subconsciously
just played it while you look at Ida
maybe
so many times
yeah
that now.
yeah, it might be that way, but it just, yeah, it's funny how you might not have a character in mind, but at least by now it's like, oh, that is so Ida, like everything that's going on there.
Yeah, and like that harks back to the original reason that we changed to guitar in the first place.
Yeah.
Was that it was coming out much more emotive while still being quite bare.
Mm,
Like we tried a few tracks that were a lot more full of instruments and were a lot thicker, but it just wasn't feeling like a 14-year-old girl walking around in a watercolor hospital, you know, like it.
yeah.
So stripping it back and still being able to be as emotive as I could, and it's just down to me as a composer. It's not everyone. It was just my own struggles. Yeah, a lot of the guitar tracks are coming out much more intuitively than my usual composition style, which is very like, this is the brief, nail it, done.
Yeah.
These are sorry,
like the beauty of developing on Wayward Strand is that we do have so much freedom to be a little bit more intuitive with a lot of our work.
Yeah, and we've built up that intuition. It's, it hasn't been the quickest game to make. So, we know it really well, and like it is us. So it does actually make sense for it to be quite natural. Is be like, all right, think of Wayward Strand and just go, just like play on guitar.
That's nice.
Yeah. Well, in the next video in Esther, it's a little bit different. But
that's potentially a good segue for us to go on to our next little break, and then we'll be coming back to talk about Esther. I'm very excited.
Add us to your wish list.
Oh yes, yes. Cool.
Okay, see you soon, stream. Bye.
Bye.